Hello, everyone. Welcome to my final project screencast. It is for a website called vocabulary.com. I'm a big proponent of vocabulary.com. I like it very much for a number of reasons. The first real good reason that I have for that is that I've often found that, I'll start here. Vocabulary instruction has been mired in old methodology for a long time. And what I mean by that is that it's hard to teach vocabulary in 2019 without it feeling too stale. We tend to fall back on the use of lists and propagation of those lists just sort of from year to year, passing them on from class to class. And it was always been my perspective that you need to bring it into modern times, and it's 2019, and I feel like vocabulary.com has done a really good job of bringing vocabulary instruction into the technological era. So a few of the things that we, I guess, used to do with vocabulary instruction, we would give a list and ask our kids to define the words. It's pretty dull. We would ask our kids to use words in a sentence, which is helpful for context, but again, a little bit dull, straightforward. And then we would ask them to figure out antonyms and synonyms, but that doesn't really grasp the complexity of vocabulary instruction in the way that it should. The standard that we tend to use to justify the teaching of vocabulary, of course we need to do it because it's English teaching and it's cross-curricular as well, but the actual Common Core standard is Language 4, which is to determine or clarify the meaning of unknown and multiple meaning words and phrases based on reading and content in the curriculum. For 9 and 10, it's written 9 and 10th grade. For 11 and 12th grade, it's written 11th and 12th grade. Of course, lower grades, it's the same. Choosing flexibly from a range of strategies. So, we've identified the standard that we need to meet. We have identified the problem in teaching it. And so let's move to the answer, which is, in my estimation anyway, vocabulary.com. Vocabulary.com brings vocabulary instruction into the 21st century. It is user-friendly. It gamifies instruction. What I mean by that is that it makes it fun. You compete with your fellow classmates and with other classes and other schools and other states. Students can complete assignments anytime before due date. It doesn't have to be done in class. You can do it at home on your own time if you are a student. If you're a teacher, you can check data anytime you want. You can see when your students have been active. In other words, it takes vocabulary outside the standard classroom situation. You can customize vocabulary.com to your own specifications, use it in any way that you want to use it. Now, as far as differentiation goes, making vocabulary.com palatable for all of our students, you can create different lists for different members of your classes. You don't have to assign the same lists and have the same quizzes for every student. You can make it different from kid to kid so that you're not pushing that kid who's maybe not a wordsmith into the more difficult vocab words. You can give them some more foundational kinds of lists as opposed to those tough ones. And so you can use the data that you've already gotten to figure out which kid do I need to put on this list and which kid do I need to put on the harder list or easier ones, et cetera, et cetera. So, and as I mentioned before, there is a competition element to vocabulary.com, which I think makes it much more fun than any vocabulary instruction I've ever seen as a student or used as a teacher in my career. So, again, you can compete within your own class with other people that you're doing the same lists with. You can compete with people in different classes at your same school. You can compete within your state, and you can compete nationwide. They have something I'll show you a little bit later, a leaderboard every single day for the top scorers, top word masters over the entire nation. So we will go ahead and get out of that slideshow and move into vocab.com. I'll show you what the opening screen looks like. So once you have an account and once you've got a profile and are starting to set up your classes, this is what it's going to look like when you go to vocabulary.com. This is sort of your opening screen. You can see here a number of things. First off, this is your class page. So you're going to see all the classes that you are teaching. I'll go ahead and scroll down and show you. I have, at this point in the summer, gone ahead and set up the English 2 classes that we have at my school. I'll later set up my English 1 classes, but I needed to go ahead and do those. When you go into a class, we'll just go into my 5th hour. I don't know who my students are yet, so I don't have rosters or anything. It will show you how to get your kids on to the program. So all they'll have to do is go to the URL and then say I accept, and they're in the class. It's incredibly easy. You can also send out email invitations to your kids. It's another really user-friendly way of doing that. You can go to student progress, and of course we don't have any students yet, so we can't check progress yet, but this page will show you, once it's up and running, how each of your students is doing, whether they've completed their assignments, all that sort of thing. You can go to your assignments tab, which will show you all of the assignments that you have created. Typically it'll be a list of vocabulary words. You can create lists from here as well and assign them to your classes. This is also where you can differentiate, where you can make a different list for different groups of kids. And then you also have student view. Again, since we haven't started, it's bare bones. You don't really have anything here, but your students will be able to track leaderboards within their own classes as well. So they can, shower each other with praise for how well they're doing on those lists that you've assigned. Now, what I'd like to show now is sort of, I guess, home base for everything that we're going to be using today. As I said, when you log into your account, you're going to have your class page, but this is where everything is. You've got leaderboards, which we'll go see here pretty shortly. You have the vocab.com blog where they show updates. You have the Twitter, the Facebook that you can go check for new postings. You've got, if you want to buy, whatever they're, all the things they're selling, you can go up here. But this is really where we're going to be going. So you can check out your own account, your personal one. You can go back to your class page. Here's your assignment and activity tab. You can go look at all the lists that you've created. You can look at your personal progress. I'll show you what this looks like just because your kids are going to have this too and they'll be able to access this. I'm going to go to words I'm learning, which at the moment may be blank. So I've got 4 words, one of them being a whole Latin phrase. But it'll show you what % of these words you've mastered. Now I've got, as far as the words that they have on their database, I've finished them all. And so these are the only 4 new ones that we've got. So this is what it looks like if you click on one of the words. And this is, again, what your kids can see when they're looking through the contents of their lists. The word snag is what we're looking at. It gives you an example of how to use it. It gives you the definition. It lets you set your priority. You can set it as a high priority word, a low priority word, wherever you want it. It gives you, again, the definition, gives you some synonyms, gives you real world examples of when that word has been used. Fortunately, it snags in the thick rough just before the white posts from The Guardian. That's from yesterday. So that word literally was used yesterday in The Guardian. Vocab.com keeps up with all of its real, as many of its real world usages as they can. So, again, we go back to home base here. And what I wanted to do was show you how you can create a list, how you can functionally use this in conjunction with things that you might be teaching. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start a new list, okay? And we can see all these. I've created all these vocabulary lists. But we're going to start a new list. So when you go to My Lists, you'll have the option to create a new one. So let's go start a new list. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. If you know the list of words that you're going to want to use, going to want to teach, that's great. And you can go ahead and plug them in. Right here, all you have to do is type the words in, snag. I'm just making words up here. Officious. Ulterior, whatever. So we'll make a 3-word list. Go to the next thing. Here's your list of 3 words. You can assign those words, but we're not going to talk about that. What we want to do is create a list out of a curricular text. And let's use the Gettysburg Address just as an example because it's something that pretty much all high schoolers do study. So here is the full text of the Gettysburg Address. What we're going to do is copy the entirety of it. Okay? And then we will hit Control-C. So we're going to pull the entire text. Now you can do this with longer text as well as shorter text. It doesn't have to be any particular length. It can handle all the text that you've got. If you wanted to do a whole short story, the Devil and Tom Walker, if you wanted to use that one, whatever it was, copy the whole thing, plug it in. It will pull all of the vocabulary words that it sees as being vocabulary words that it has in its database out for you. So here we go. We've pasted the entirety of the Gettysburg Address into the text box. We're then going to go to the next step, and it's found 43 vocabulary words. Now, it is totally up to you what you want to do with these 43 vocabulary words. Vocabulary.com has done the work of picking the 10 that it sees as being the most relevant. For whatever reason, it sees them as being the most relevant. It's probably because they're the most complex, and they will be the best service to teach those. You'll see that you have words down here like struggle, resolve, earth, honor, proper, noble. Maybe not quite as difficult as the ones that they've picked out. Dedicated, detract, hallow, dedicate, consecrated. These are more difficult words. These are words that have different uses, and so what you're going to want to do, and let's just say you accept their suggestions. If you want to change it, obviously, uncheck it, check nation instead. Okay, so whatever you want to do, it's totally user-friendly. We're going to learn these 10 words. Now, you could assign them. If you wanted to assign them to your classes, I obviously am not going to assign them because I don't want to, well, if I don't have any students to assign them to. So let's go to learn these words. Oh, you have to give it a title, my apologies. We'll give the list a title, Gettysburg Address, and we'll learn these 10 words. Now, this is what the interface of the website looks like. And again, it'll be those 10 words once they pop up. And here we go. Here's an example of what it looks like. And this is exactly what it looks like for your kids, too. Once you start a list, you have this sort of pretty blue background. If you have kids who are sight disabled, you can turn on the audio right here and it will read the questions to you. So consecrated. If something is consecrated, it's made or declared or believed to be holy. You click on it, it tells you did a good job, and it'll tell you how far along you are. I have already mastered this word, but in most cases it'll say you're 25% of the way through or 20% of the way through, or whatever it is. So the last thing I wanted to show you before we sign off is the leaderboards and how the competition function works with vocabulary.com. My school last year was lucky enough to have enough participation to win our state championship. So so we were real happy about that. But this is what their leaderboards look like. You can see this is last year. Their season starts, I believe, September 1st. So it's, the actual bowl season has not started yet. So this is from last year. You can see the top Louisiana schools. They will produce a full leaderboard for you if you want it. So you can see all of the top schools. This is just the top 4. But you can see all of the high schools, and this is all high schools in America. So you can go into it and go all the way down to the top 25. You can see there we finished 85th. And so kids can track this in real time. If you want to do things in class that will help sort of motivate these kids to do well, they can compete, again, within the class in real time. They can watch the words going up. They can watch their points going up. And so that is kind of how this works and how it, again, gamifies, makes more interesting the learning of vocabulary in your classroom. And I hope you have enjoyed this presentation on vocabulary.com. And if you have any questions, you can email me at abmedlin@caddoschools.com.